Hello and welcome to Castle for One Games. I am George Castle, and today I'll be presenting a playthrough teach of Celtae. This is a 1 to 4 player game, but today I'll be playing a couple of rounds of the solo mode against Solitairix. Now, the game is a hand management, area control, and rondel game, and the solo mode is a quick and easy kind of beat your own score type of mechanism that simply blocks you as you try to pull out the best moves in order to beat the different difficulty levels found on page 13 of the book. All right, the game plays relatively quickly with just 6 rounds in all. For each of the rounds, you get to move up the rondel with an action marker in clockwise order, which leads you to adjacent islands that give you limited action selection. A player has 4 actions to choose from. You have the farm, where you can purchase cards as you manage your hand to use for other actions. You can build as you add your discs to the citadels for area majority. You can recruit to increase your workers to boost your actions. And lastly, you can battle so that you can gain more points as you race for area majority in the garrison area. The game provides different bonus tiles that will improve your actions. Then, after your turn is over, the AI has its own moves based on an AI tile. After 6 rounds are over, you count the total scores, and if you beat the point threshold from optional difficulty levels, then you win. It's basically a beat your own score, but with some AI moves that block your every opportunity. There is more to it than that, but this should give you an overview of what the game is like. And now let's move to the player setup. Now, as far as the board setup, you want to make sure that you draw cards from the player card deck and fill up the market for both the north side and the south side. Add the end of game or objective cards. You get to distribute a total of 5 cards for the 2-player. Add the druid tiles. Then the druid tokens, 6 only for 2-player. Add the army tiles. Then you add a player color of your choice just to cover the 3 or more player count spaces for each of the citadels. Add the bonus tiles to each citadel. Add the progress markers, 6 for the 2-player game. Add the progress markers for both the druid tiles and army tiles. And don't forget to remove 2 farmers, 2 builders, and 2 soldiers from play completely. When setting up the workers, each island has a printed color already assigned specifically for setup. And then you will place a middle worker at random, drawn from the bag. All right, next we're going to move to the player setup. This is your player board. Make sure to pick up your 3 workers. You have the farmer, the builder, and the soldier. These go in your active area. You get 1 double-sided bonus token to be used as a free action during your action turn. This side allows you to recruit for free, which means you can place your worker from the active area into your tribe area, and these are permanent workers. This side means you may play from any action around the island, but you don't have to move the action marker since you already did that during the moving stage. Then you will place your discs, your garrison cubes, and the final cube in space 0 of the strength level at the bottom edge. And this is my leader, Celtairix. And basically it gives you 1 point if you have at least 1 disc in the northern region and at least 1 disc in the southern region by the end of the game. And if you flip it over, you gain 3 points if you have at least 3 discs between the north and the southern region by the end of the game. All right, and now for Solitairix, it will start with this solitaire tile, this action tile that it goes off of. It references off of its actions, and we'll go into more detail in another segment. But for now, just recognize that there are two sides. There's an A side, and then there is a B side, and there's not much of a difference. Just different, different orders of some of these actions. There is no difficulty level that I could tell. But yeah, that's what it will use. So the next thing is it will start with 4 cubes. It will then add 9 discs. And then you will randomly pull out a worker token from the bag. In this case, it's a recruit token, so it will start with that. And that's the setup. All right, so the player starts first, so I'll go ahead and draw here 5 cards. And from those 5, I'm going to select 3 that I want to start the game with. Looks like a lot of blues, a lot of purples. And considering that the goal or the objective is purple, I might want to start off with something like this so that I can start thinking about maybe getting a building going on one of the citadels, maybe the purple one, and that'll give me 3 power on my strength down here on the bottom of my board. So I think that'll be the best thing to do. So what happens is these next 2 that I'm not going to use, they are now going to go and start that discard pile that the AI is going to go off of. So we'll go ahead and place these on my area to play with. We'll just set them aside over here on top of my leader for now. And then we'll go ahead and proceed to moving this marker. All right, and this basically allows me to choose from both of these islands here. If I want to recruit, I would activate the action area here. If I want to farm, or if I want to build, it will be from this island here as well. So I want to go ahead and build, which will be this second option here. Now, one thing I do want to mention, if you notice here in this reference box, there is a +1. That means that if I move 1 space, which I did, I moved from here to here, that's just 1 space, I'm going to receive 1 extra strength on the bottom of my personal board. And if I would have moved twice, 1, 2, that means I wouldn't receive anything and I wouldn't have to pay for anything. And finally, if I move 3 spaces all the way around to the top here, you're going to have to pay 3 of your strengths at the bottom of your board. But I went ahead and decided to move 1 spot. So I'm going to gain 1 of my strengths. And now the next thing I have, because I have chosen to build, I have an option to swap my workers. And why would I want to swap my workers? Well, because the more yellow workers or yellow tokens I have, the less it will cost me to pay for the discs to be built out into the citadel area, the purple. So right now I only have 1 worker, 1 yellow worker. So if I swap maybe my red or my green for this other yellow, that'll be a lot cheaper to pay for that disc to be out. I won't have to use my cards as much. Now, I don't mind right now because I do have 2 purple cards that pretty much will pay for most of it, plus the 1 I have already on my area. Then I don't really want to swap because I still need the red for battle and the green for farming. The other option, I could swap, since I'm here and it has nothing to do with my action at all, is just to swap that blue token, because that is recruiting, that allows me to recruit more players onto my tribe, and we'll go through that in a minute. I could do that. I really don't need the battle. I don't have enough to pay for battle right now, since one of the tiles is 7 points. So let me go ahead and do that to demonstrate the swapping. So this is again optional, but I went ahead and I'm going to go ahead and swap this recruit token. I'll have that for future use. In the meantime, the red one is on this island. All right, so now it's time to go ahead and build. So all I have to do is look at the 3 that's under this disc here. That means I need to pay 3 purple, because I'm going to go to purple Citadel. I need to pay 3 purple cards. I have 2, but because of my yellow worker, I only have to pay the 2. So I'll go ahead and place this disc onto the Citadel. And now I get to benefit from that tile 3 more additional strengths. So now not only will I have 1, I'm going to add 3 more. I'm going to be at 4. And now I'm getting closer to being able to purchase the tiles from the army tile. But in the meantime, let me go ahead and pay for these 2 over to the deck, the discard pile. And that pretty much pays for my move. I now have completed my turn. It'll now be Solitairix's turn. All right, so now it's going to be Solitairix's turn, and basically it just goes off of this tile. There's different layers that it goes off of, but the first layer is actually the action layer, meaning it will first attempt to do this build action, and if it can't do that, it will go to the farm, and it'll always do the farm, because all it does is just takes cards from the market. So what we do is we grab from the draw deck here, we just flip this over, and whatever card comes out, we're just going to match it to the last card played in the discard pile. And the first thing it says is, does the color match? In this case, it doesn't. If it would have matched, that means that Solitairix would have moved 2 spaces with that action marker. But because it didn't match, it's only going to be 1 move that Solitairix is going to take. And that has nothing to do with the tile. That's just the first step it does, is it decides where it's going to move that action marker. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so now what it's going to do, the next thing that Solitairix is going to do is it's going to turn the tile over. Remember that the top move, or the top space, is the first or is the area that Solitairix is going to take. But in this case, it's saying, hey, before we move, I want this tile to move, so we know what our next action will be. So the rules say, if this symbol, and this symbol I believe is warrior, if this symbol matches this symbol here from the drop, or from the discard pile, then you will move this tile twice. If it doesn't match, it would only move once. But in this case, it does match. Just put it right here. And what we'll do is we'll just turn it. Remember, this is the top. This is the first spot. It'll turn once, and it'll turn the second time. So now we'll play from this space, not from the original spot we had. And again, it's saying, I want to build. Well, because it moved 1 space over between these 2 islands, then it's saying, well, can I build? Sure it can, because it is adjacent to the build area. And so now that you've answered that question, can it build? It will now proceed with building. Well, now, which citadel will it build on? Well, first of all, it's going to have to be in the north side, because that's where it ended up, is on the north end of the map. So which color of the citadel will it build? It will come back to this card, and this card is this orange color, so it will build on the orange citadel. It'll simply take one of these white discs, and it will place it on the citadel. All right, so now it's going to proceed to the next layer. In this case, it's going to swap all three of them. So not one in particular, but all three of the workers from the island that it just currently played. And basically it'll just draw randomly from the bag. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. And now we have those swapped. So basically now it will skip the farmer action, right? Because it already did the build. And that means it will not remove any cards from the market as the third layer indicates. All right, and that is the end of the turn for Solitairix. And now back to me. So I've been thinking about the next move, and I think the best choice I have, and it's kind of a half move, but basically I'm going to be able to do a battle. And the way this works is I'm going to move one space over here. All right, so that means I'm going to move from 4 to 5. I get that extra point for moving one space. And by the way, I don't know if I mentioned, but there are some arrows here that kind of tell you where those adjacent spots are for your next action. And so I have the choice right now between doing the build or the farm, or I could do a battle. And I choose to do the battle. Now, it's going to get a little bit tricky. The way this works is the tile, the army tile, is worth 7 strength points. And so right now I need some soldiers in my active area so that I can multiply the amount of soldiers with the amount of cards that I have in my hand. And I only have one. And you see this symbol, this is the traps card here. And you would multiply however many you had of the same type. But I only have one card, so I would multiply the amount of soldiers. So what the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to swap. I have here my recruit token that I had earlier, and I'm going to swap it with this soldier here. Now this goes into my active area. And that means that I would multiply 1 times the card that I have. That's only 1. And I have 5. That's going to be 6. I'm still short by 1. So the next move I can do is I have this bonus token that I was given at the beginning of the game. And this bonus token allows me to recruit. It's a recruit action. I'm able to take this during my action turn, which I am currently on now. And so I'm going to be able to recruit. What that means is I can take one of my active workers and place them into the tribe area. And the worker I'm going to move is going to be the build worker, this yellow token, onto my tribe. I now am left with 2 active workers. I must have 3 by the end of my turn. So where am I going to get that third one? Well, I get to choose only from the middle area here, this middle island. I get to choose one of those workers and recruit it onto my active area. So I'm going to choose one of these soldiers, and that's going to go into my active area. I now have a farmer and 2 soldiers, and now I'm going to discard this token, and that is the end of that bonus, unfortunately. But now I can multiply that card by the 2 soldiers I have. So now that's 2 times 1, that's 2. 2 plus the 5 that I have in my total strength, and that now equals 7 total strength points to that tile. I am now able to take this tile, and if you flip it over, that means that I have 1 point. Now, not only do I have a point thanks to this tile, but I'm actually one closer to this end of bonus or end of game card that allows you an additional bonus point depending on how many markers are on it. A little bit more towards the end about that, but just keep in mind we're working towards that now that I have one of those tiles. All right, and you simply just reduce it from, it would have been 7, right? But I'm now going to reduce it all the way back to 0. And now I need to replace or refill this one worker I took earlier. So all I have to do is just grab one from the bag, and random token. I happen to get a farmer. So that goes on that center island. And there is another action I could have taken if I had another card. And that is, depending on the symbol on the left-hand corner of the card, I could have discarded that card and used one of my garrison cubes and placed it in one of these symbols. And that's another area majority. And at the end of the game, you'd get additional points off of that. So unfortunately, I don't have another card to discard. It is an optional action that I could have taken, but I'm going to miss out. That's why I said I'm going to do a half move on this or half action on this turn. But I still think it's worth it. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and discard this, and that is going to be the end of my turn. And now back to Solitairix. All right, it is now Solitairix's turn, and the first thing we do is just flip over the next card on the draw deck and match the colors. If these two colors match, which they do not, it means Solitairix will take one space action with the action marker, and it's going to move it from the north side of the map to the south side of the map, and it has crossed this river. And anytime either Solitairix or myself cross that river, it triggers the end of round. And towards the end of Solitairix's turn, we'll discuss a little bit more of what that means. But for now, we're going to look and see what the next action Solitairix is going to take on this tile. In order to do that, we're going to see if the symbols on the bottom left corner of both of these cards match. And they do not match, which means Solitairix will only turn clockwise this tile once. So this is the top, it's going to turn it. And now this is the new action. The far left symbol on this first layer is a recruit symbol. And that means that Solitairix, if it was adjacent to the island for recruiting, it would have performed that action. But in this case, it is actually next to or adjacent to these two islands. And so we're going to look at the tile and see what the next action will be. And because it wasn't able to do the recruit action, the next one over is the battle action. And so what that means is that because Solitairix is on the south side of the map, it will take the army tile, the top army tile, which is this one, and it will remove it from the game. It will flip it over, and it will have that as a point. Now, it doesn't really give Solitairix a point. That just means it's competing with me on points if there was an objective card that would indicate that. In this case, it's just blocking me. It's removing opportunities that would allow me to get more of those army tiles and work towards that objective card. All right, so now the next thing that the battle action will do is to add one of the cubes here from Solitairix onto one of the garrison area on the board. Which one? Well, that depends on the last card that it drew. This is the last card that it drew. It is the fortress symbol. So it will place this cube on the fortress area. And now Solitairix is controlling that area. And now that is the end of Solitairix's action. We're going to move to the next layer. The next layer on this tile is to swap. It will remove the worker on the far right. Now, because on this island, it's a column, not a row, it's going to remove the bottom worker. In this case, it's this soldier red token that it's going to swap. And I haven't been showing Solitairix's worker, but this is the recruiting token, and it's going to swap this token with that soldier token. And here we are. I'm going to add this to Solitairix area, and that is the swap action. All right. Solitairix does not perform anything else, hasn't done the farming action because it already took the battle action. And now, because Solitairix crossed that river and triggered the end of round, that means that progress has been triggered by Solitairix, and it will place the topmost progress marker from the progress track onto any progress card. And that means that it's whether it's Solitairix or myself that crossed that river, I will be the one to choose which objective card I will place this progress marker. All right, so I'm going to choose the one that has the purple citadel goal. That means that if I have the majority, or if I have equal to or the most of what Solitairix can build on those two purple citadels, then I can gain a point. And if I have two progress markers on there, I would get 2 points at the end of the game. So this is one that I'm going to be working towards. All right, that ends Solitairix's turn. It is back to me. All right, it is now my turn, and I have to choose how many spaces I'm going to take. And depending on where I land, those are my optional actions. In this case, I need cards. As you can see, I don't have any. So it'd be good to start getting some cards that can work towards that purple citadel we talked about. Now, if I stay on the south side, I have the option of these cards here that I can select from. If I go to the north side, these are the cards I would be able to purchase. Now, there is another option, and that is the orange citadel. As you can see here, Celtairix is about to complete that citadel, blocking me from potentially getting some points as well. So yeah, I've got a couple of options. I need to see which one is best. So yeah, I'm going to choose to farm. And because I want to start to add up some of my strength points, I'm just going to move one space. It's all I need. Moving the one space will allow me to be adjacent to that farming area. And now I'm going to go ahead and do that. And one thing to keep in mind is currently I have 2 soldiers and I only have 1 farmer in my active area, and I have the 1 builder in my tribe. So I want to be able to have more opportunities to purchase more cards. And in order to do that, I can just swap one of these soldiers with the farmer that's already on that island. So let me go ahead and do the swap action first. And we'll just swap the soldier with the farmer. And there we go. I have 2 farmers now. That means I have the value of 2, and I can get some more cards. Actually, I just remembered I needed to move 1 more strength thanks to moving that action marker 1 space. The first thing I'm going to be able to do is go ahead and get this card here, which is the orange card, and that will help me towards that citadel that Solitairix is already occupying. But now I also have, as I said, I have 2 more, so I can choose either 2 from any of these 1 values or 1 card from any of these 2 values. So I'm going to go ahead and get 2 cards just to mix it up a little bit. But I also like this pink card. So I'm going to get the pink card and I'm going to get this purple card because they both match on the army symbols. I believe those are the warriors. So I'll go ahead and get those. So those are my 3 cards that I'm able to pick up thanks to my 2 farmers. And again, that's followed on this symbol here on the island where it says I get the first one for free, and then I get to add any more that I multiply with the farmers that I have in my active or my tribe area. In this case, it's 2. So I'm able to get all 3 of these cards. All right, and now that we've taken the cards, we need to refill these slots. So we're going to move all these cards all the way to the left. And then we're going to draw some new cards out. And there we go. And that is the end of my action. And back to Solitairix. All right, it's Solitairix's turn, and we're going to flip the next card over, see what we're going to do. All right, these 2 cards do match the colors, so that means that Solitairix will move 2 spaces. All right, next we're going to see what action Solitairix will take, and as you can see from the last card that was discarded with the new card drawn, the symbols do not match, which means Solitairix will turn this tile over clockwise only 1 time. So here we go from the top. 1 time, there it goes. And so the first action will be a build action. So can Solitairix build? The answer is yes, it can, because Solitairix is adjacent to the build area. So that's what Solitairix is going to do. Now, which citadel will Solitairix build? Well, that's dependent on what it drew. And it drew the pink colored card. So this is the card that Solitairix drew. That's what it's going to reference. So we're going to go ahead and grab one of Solitairix's discs, and we're going to place it over there at one of the citadels. In this case, it will be the pink here on this side. Now there is a bonus action here, but Solitairix will not receive that bonus. It only takes it away once that citadel is filled up. All right, so Solitairix has completed its action. It's going to move to the next layer on the tile, and it says it's going to remove the far left worker. In this case, on that island, it will be the soldier worker, or the red token. So Solitairix already has a red token, so it doesn't need to swap. That pretty much covers that layer. And of course, it will not take the last layer because it didn't do a farmer or farming action. All right, so that pretty much completes Solitairix's turn. All right, the turn is back to me, and I've decided to move 2 spaces over. I need to get to the recruiting area because I need to start to recruit new workers on my tribe. And part of the reason is because I'm trying to build up more strength to all of my moves going forward. All right, before I do the recruiting action, what I do want to do is swap. So I'm going to swap one of my farmers, the green token, for one of these blue tokens or recruiting workers. That's going to build up my active area with a recruit, my soldier, and my farmer. And now the reason why I want to do that is because, as you can see from this symbols here, what that means is I can recruit for free 1 worker onto my tribe. But if I have any additional blue tokens, I can continue to recruit more. In this case, I have 1 more, so I'll be able to recruit a total of 2 workers onto my tribe. All right, now it's time to go ahead and perform the action of recruiting. And what that means is, as I mentioned, I have two workers I can recruit from my active area into my tribe area. And so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and recruit both of these. So here we go. We'll go ahead and move these over. And there we go. Now my tribe is a little bit stronger. I've got some more permanent workers. I don't swap those. Those are there for the remainder of the game. However, there is another action I can take advantage of this recruiting action here, and that is to get these druid tiles. I can only collect one of these druid tiles from the south of the map, not anything from the north, because my action marker is on the south side again. And notice that there is a pattern of color. You have the blue and then you have the red. And there's no particular order. You just need to have at least both of those workers, but they must be from your tribe area, not from your active area. That's why you want to be able to recruit first. Make sure you have those tribe members there available to trade in. So now that I have those tribe workers, I can now go ahead and collect this this druid tile. And if you flip it over, that's 1 point at the end of the game. And of course, there is an objective up there that shows that if I can collect more than Solitairix, I can qualify for points, additional points. Now, there is one more action I can take, and that is if I'm able to purchase one of these tiles due to my tribe members, then that means that I also qualify for, or have an option to, trade two of my workers for a druid worker. And in this tile that I collected, as I mentioned, there's no particular order. As long as I have a red and a blue, a soldier and a recruiter, then I can go ahead and swap those out for a druid. And the other thing that it asks is that I must give up one of my cards. So I can just pick any of these. And because I'm working for the purple citadel and the orange citadel, I'm going to give up this pink one. All right, and now we're just going to discard this card that we just played onto the discard pile. I now fully qualify to go ahead and swap 2 of my tribe members that meet that requirement from the tile with one of the druids. So we'll take both of these out of the game, or back in the bag, and we'll go ahead and add this druid onto my tribe. And that's a permanent tribe member. All right, and just to clarify, one of the reasons I was able to add this druid worker, which essentially is a wild, it works as if it was a farmer, a builder, or a soldier. So the reason I was able to get it is because I had tribes, or I had workers on my tribe, and I cannot use anyone from my active area to swap out. Now, let's say that I was able to go ahead and get the tile, but I didn't have any cards to purchase the druid. Then I wouldn't be able to take the druid worker. I would just be able to get the tile. So you should be prepared to get both, to be able to afford to get both. Have your tribe members available, ready to swap, and be able to pay with your card. So now that I have my druid worker there, the next thing I'm going to have to do is refill the active workers I used to place on my tribe and swap for my druid worker. And the way you do that is you can only refill your active area with workers that are in the middle island. And as you can see in this middle island, you have one of each color. So I can choose any of those. So the first one I'm going to choose is a soldier, so I can get my soldier back and start working towards those army tiles. And then I can't just grab another worker. I need to draw another randomly from the bag. And of course, another soldier comes up. And then now I can choose. I can choose another one, and that could be another soldier or any of the others. So the next one I'm going to get is another farmer, because I lost the card. I need to prepare to get more cards in the future. And now we draw another one from the bag, and it's another soldier. So now we have a recruit and 2 soldiers in that area. All right, so that's how the recruiting works with the druids. And now I've been able to get my druid and refill my active workers. All right, so I crossed the river. So that means I have now triggered the progress. And so that means I'm going to grab one of these progress markers, and I'm going to choose which card or which objective I want to start working towards. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this army objective one, because I've got one. I just need 2 more. I need to battle one more time, and I qualify for this objective. So I'll go ahead and place my marker, the progress marker there, and now I'll be able to qualify for points once I reach 3 or more points on the army tiles. And so that's the end of my turn. Back to Solitairix. And actually, we're going to go ahead and fast forward until the end of the 3rd round. This is where we're going to be able to have an option to flip the leader's different scoring objectives. So we'll meet back during that turn. All right, so now Celtairix has triggered the progress, and this is the end of the 3rd round. And this provides me the opportunity to place one of the progress markers. And I went ahead and placed it on the purple, to build the purple citadel goal. And now that gives me an opportunity to focus on both citadels to build. So now that we have triggered that 3rd round, that means that we're going to have to choose. Based on this little icon here, it means that we have an opportunity to choose whether we want to keep the leader card on the A side or flip it to the B side. Now, in my case, my leader gives me 1 point at the end of the game if I'm able to successfully build on both the north side and on the south side. Now, it doesn't matter how many citadels. If I have built at least 1, meaning I have one of my discs on any of the citadels on the north and one of my discs on one of the citadels on the south, I have completed my objective. If I flip it over to the B side, it means I would have to build 3 times, have 3 discs on the north side and 3 discs on the south side. That means I would have to at least build 6 discs to be able to meet that objective and only get 3 points. So at this point, with only 3 rounds left, and I've only built one so far on the south side, and Solitairix has built plenty on the north, it's starting to block me out. I don't feel as confident, so I think I'm going to keep it on the A side, and we're just going to get 1 point. I just need to build one more on the north side, and I have completed that objective. So for now, the round is over. We're going to move to the 4th round, and it'll be my turn next. So we're still going to forward the video to the last round, and that way we'll get a feel for how the end of scoring goes as well. All right, so that is now the end of the 5th round. We are now going to start the 6th and final round, and as you can see, I was able to successfully build on both of my purple citadels, which means I'm able to meet this goal here, and I'll get a couple of points off of that. I do need to close some off, because if I can close this citadel and this one, I'll be able to get some bonus, and on top of that, I'll be able to gain points from those bonus tiles. But we'll see. There's only a couple more moves left, but as you can see, Solitairix has actually closed off a couple of them on the north, and a couple of citadels on the north anyway, and it's also got a little bit of an area control, but I was able to meet that area control on the north side of the map. It did take a couple of the military tiles there, or army tiles, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't go against me, because this goal, and I was able to add another progress marker there. This goal just says that I need to meet 3 or more points, which I have. I actually got I built up a lot on these tiles, and as you can see, I have a lot of the soldiers on my tribe and my active area. So and obviously that druid helped as well. I'm down to just 1 card, but it was let's see if it was worth it. But for now, that's where we are. So now I'm going to go ahead and take my turn, since Solitairix just triggered the last round, and I'm going to go ahead and choose to move just 1 space. I'm going to want to go ahead and farm. In order to do that, I need to swap. So I'm going to swap the soldier I have with this farmer. And there we go. And now I have 2, because I have the druid and the farmer, so I can get up to 2 cards. And I'm trying to get at least one of the purple ones, so I can close off that the north one, because I don't think I'll be able to do the south. We'll see. We'll have 2 more turns after this anyway, so we'll see how it goes. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and take these next 2 right here, this teal and this purple. So those will be mine based on the actually. So I'm going to go ahead and take all 3 of these cards. I've got a teal, the purple, and this orange. That's going to help me. All right, so I just need to refill these cards. We're going to move all these to the far left, and then we're going to draw a couple more cards, fill these back up. All right, and that's the end of my turn, and now back to Solitairix. All right, it is now Solitairix's turn, so we'll just go ahead and flip the next card over, see what we have. All right, these colors do not match, so that means the Solitairix will take just 1 space turn with the action marker. And now we need to decide what action Solitairix is going to take. So let's see, these 2 symbols do match. That means Solitairix will turn twice, 1 and 2. All right, that means that Solitairix is going to attempt to do a battle action. However, Solitairix is not near a battle area, so it's going to try to do the next action over, which is going to be the recruit. And in this case, it is adjacent to the recruit area, so Solitairix will do a recruit action. So the first thing that Solitairix will do is remove the next druid tile, and because it's on the north side, it will remove this tile. Just bring it over to its area. It's another additional points. So fortunately, I don't have any progress markers on the points end of goal objective card. so I'm not too worried about Solitairix competing with me against those points at this time. And the next thing that Solitairix will do is remove one of the Druid workers. We'll place another one. And again, Solitairix has 2 Druid workers. Those are just used whenever we have to compete against an objective card. Again, there's no objective card at this time that has to do with Druid, so I'm not too worried about Solitairix taking that away. All right, the next thing that Solitairix will do is it's going to remove or swap the middle of the workers, and it's going to be this farmer is going to be replacing or swapping with this build worker, and there you go. Solitairix has now completed its turn, and it is back to me. All right, now back to me, and I'm going to move 2 spaces, and I'm going to choose to farm just to build up some cards that can help me with building on the purple citadels towards that end of game card, or gain more bonus tiles from other citadels. But before I do that, I'm going to swap my soldier with a farmer. So I'll have more options when I purchase cards in the market. And there's my green token. So now I have a total of 3 farmers thanks to this guild token. So I'll have some options now. All right, so I'm going to take this free pink card first, and then I'll take all 3 of these with the 1 value cards, which includes this purple card for that citadel. And now I'll slide all these remaining cards down to the far left and refill the rest of these slots back. So now I'll have 4 cards added to my stack for a total of 5 cards. And that's pretty much my turn. Back to Celtairix. All right, so now it's back to Solitairix's turn, and the next thing we are going to do is just flip over the next cards from the card deck. And we have a purple card, and it doesn't match with the last discarded card, which means that Solitairix will only move 1 space over. And now we're going to determine what the next action will be for Solitairix. And because these 2 symbols on the bottom corner match, we will turn the tile clockwise 2 turns. 1, 2. And the first action it will attempt is the recruit action. And Solitairix can recruit. It is adjacent to the recruit island. The first thing it will do is remove the druid tile. And because the action marker is on the south side of the island, it will remove this tile and will add to its area and flip it over for another point. And since we have no progress markers on the end of game scoring cards, I'm not worried about it. And next, it's going to remove the druid on the south side of the map as well. And here's that druid. And we're going to place it here, and now it has 3 druids. And I'm okay with that as well because I don't have any objective cards that require me to have to compete with Solitairix on druids. And at this point, I may not even get any more druids. We are now going to move to the next layer, and so this is a swap layer, and it will remove the worker furthest to the right. But in the case of the board, the workers are vertical, so it will remove the one furthest down, which is the green token. And because Solitairix already has a green token, it will not need to swap. It doesn't have to remove any cards from the card market. It hasn't done any farming in this game. It's just been able to perform all the actions required so far. And that is Solitairix's final turn, and we have now finished the last round of the game. And now we're going to move to the bonus round where I get a chance to take 2 turns in a row. And then after that, it will be Solitairix's turn, and it will take 2 turns in a row as well. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through those rounds and go through the end of game scoring. Okay, we have reached the end of the game, and while I was away, I was able to complete both my purple citadels and contribute towards my end of game bonus cards, or as the rulebook calls it, the progress cards with progress markers. And fortunately, I have 2 progress markers on that bonus card. Also, because I was able to build and complete both citadels, I was able to not only benefit from the bonus tiles, but I'm also able to keep them for additional points. Since building citadels require my discs from my player board to be allocated, I emptied out the spaces up to the victory point symbols here, and now I get one additional point at the end of the game. I was also able to recruit more builders and added them to my tribe, which also reached the victory point for the end of the game. If I would have emptied all of my garrison cubes onto the garrison area of the board, I would also get a victory point for that. But I was only able to use one of them. And as you can see, I ended up with all these tiles, including 3 points for the army tiles, which also qualifies for the progress card. And I got one druid tile, which although I don't have any progress cards for that, I'll still get one victory point. And finally, I have the 2 bonus tiles, and that's 1 point each. And I would have qualified for the progress card because I tied Solitairix in points, but I didn't add one to the progress marker, so I don't qualify for any points. Also, if you notice, I was able to get up to 4 strength points. And I also ended up with 8 leftover player cards. And if you combine both the strength points with the player cards as indicated on this player board, as for Solitairix, it removed all these druids from the south of the map, but I'm okay because there's no progress cards that I needed to compete against Solitairix for. But it did remove all the tiles, and so when that happens, then you remove the progress token from the game completely. So that would have been another opportunity, had I have depleted it myself, to add that progress token to one of the progress cards. But it removed that away from me, so I missed out on points there. And finally, Solitairix also got to block the orange citadels from me getting points. So that's pretty much the end of the game. We are now going to move to final scoring. All right, welcome to final scoring. And the first thing we are going to score is any completed citadels, which there are 4, here, 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 and here. And all of those would score if you have discs in them. And the only ones that I would qualify for are the purple ones. So I have 1, 2, 3, and 4, because both of those are completed. 1 point for each of my discs. I have 4, so I get 4 points. These citadels that are completed, I don't score those. Neither does Solitairix. They are just meant to block me. Okay, next are the bonus tiles, and I have 2 of them. All the druid tiles, and all I have is 1 collected and with 1 victory point. All the Roman army tiles, and that's 3 more points. Each region where you have the most or are tied for the most garrison cubes, and I have 1 on the northern region, so I get 1 point. Solitairix does not score for its garrison cube. Again, that's meant to just block me. Next, I'm going to score from anything on my player board, all the tribe squares with a point icon. So I've actually reached 1. All the empty disk spaces that have a point icon, and this is the only empty space that has a point icon. So there's another point. If I had placed all of my garrison cubes, then I would have also earned another point. Next, we are going to sum up all the remaining strength points and remaining cards in your hand. So I have 4 remaining strength points and 6 cards in my hand. So the 6 plus the 4, that is 10 total, so I get 2 points. And this is shown on the player board. It's combining the strength points plus any of your cards, and for every 5, you gain a victory point. Next, we are going to evaluate the points on all the progress cards that have progress markers on them. And for each card that we fulfill the requirements, we're going to gain 1, 2, or 3 points. In this case, I have the purple citadel cards, then the recruiting cards, and finally the army tiles. So we are going to start with this one, and we have 2 markers on it. And again, if I have equal to or greater than Solitairix on all the purple citadels, then I qualify for the bonus scoring. I have majority here, and I have majority here. So I will gain the 2 points from the progress cards. Next is going to be the recruiting card. And even though I did add a progress marker on it, unfortunately I didn't qualify for the points because I only have 3 workers on my tribe area. And you have to have at least 5. And of course the druid does not count. And lastly, we have 3 of these markers for the army tiles, and the army tiles indicate 3 or more points, which I do have. So I get 3 points because of the 3 markers. Next, we are going to check the leader. So we have decided not to flip to the B side. So because we kept it on the A side and I built at least 1 citadel on the north and 1 on the south, I get at least 1 point. And that's the end of the scoring, and we're going to move on to the final thoughts. All right, thanks for joining my final thoughts here. So let's start with the art. I love the color and the details with the small designs in them, especially how it all interconnects. It just makes sense. Such as the rivers triggering the end of round, the islands that have different villages with special abilities or tasks. Now, I'm not saying the theme is there. I'm just saying the design is well connected to the actions, including the iconography on the board itself, the cards, that provide small reminders. I didn't have a hard time remembering the symbols at all. The design on the cards are really nice, although I will say that the art choices for each of the cards kind of gets a little samey. I get that they represent different areas, but we already have icons and symbols to represent certain tribes, military, or actions. You don't need the art to be so uniformal. So I wish they would have had a little bit more of a variety for the cards. The wooden tokens and thick board really give it an extra nice touch. And the cherry on top is the fact that there aren't that many components. It's quite a simple game to set up and break down, which is surprising because the game seems simple, but it gets deep with multiple paths to victory. It's a meaty game. Now the choices are all very tempting, and you're stuck wanting to move 100 miles an hour, but you have to stop and put gas first. Like when you run out of cards, I have to take the farm action to gain more, or I'm stuck on limiting factors. But I really love the bag drafting for workers and how those workers can provide more opportunities to gain more things. But you still have to balance them out because what may have worked for you now, right, may not work on the next task you are trying to complete. So you have to hope that the workers are on the island you're planning to move to next. So I think that is really the best part of the game for me. Just the way the workers play in this game, I really enjoyed that mechanism. The gameplay is solid, especially for solo mode. Now I get that it's a beat your own score and the game is screaming for a great automa you can go up against. But because the game is so fast and simple, you can get away with playing a beat your own score for a while. But in the meantime, let me tell you, if enough people play this one, I think it can easily become a top 10 on many people's list, mainly because it checks all the boxes. It's simple to set up, simple to learn, yet very tight, very challenging with low scoring opportunities. 1 point here and another point there. You're almost grasping for points, especially with low scoring progress cards. And just to give you an idea, I'm scoring around 25 to 30 points, and I've played it 9 times already. I've also averaged around 30 to 40 minutes, so it's a quick game. And there's plenty of variety in this game. With the randomness of the workers coming out, the bonuses, and the progress cards, it's definitely not going to overstay its welcome very easily. The only thing I will say is that the end of game objective cards or progress cards, they're just too simple. I mean, the most you're going to get on some of these, if you're even lucky to get all of the progress markers, is 3 points. So they don't become as enticing to want to pursue, especially because you're working so hard to go after them and then you're not getting a lot back. You get to a point where you're just adding them to either gain points or make sure your opponent doesn't get any. And Solitairix only interacts with you if you get any of those progress cards that happen to demand majority. I didn't even play the progress card that requires 3 or more builders on your tribe. I would have preferred it to be a much higher scoring opportunity with those progress cards. Now, if playing with other people, I certainly wouldn't like to share the objective cards because they're so tight. I prefer my opponents not knowing what I have throughout the games. So I really appreciate the way that it has worked out for specifically the solo mode. I don't think I would enjoy it with multiplayer like that. But overall, this game was very fun to play and challenging enough to keep it interesting. It's definitely staying in my collection. I would highly recommend it to those that really like this type of worker mechanism, especially with a simple solo mode to manage. But that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Until our next board game adventure, hope you had a great time with this one.